They say death is the one certainty in life. But what if someone could use death itself as the ultimate escape plan? What if a young millionaire holding the keys to a fortune that wasn't his could simply disappear? This is the story of Gerald Cotten, a name that sends chills down the spine of every cryptocurrency investor who remembers the winter of 2018, a man who built an empire on trust, only to take $250 million to his grave. Or did he? Gerald Cotten didn't look like a criminal mastermind. With his boyish face, thick-rimmed glasses, and quiet demeanor, he seemed more like a computer science student than the architect of one of Canada's most elaborate financial disasters. But beneath that unassuming exterior was a mind that understood one crucial thing. In the world of cryptocurrency, trust is everything. In 2013, when Bitcoin was still a mysterious concept to most people, Cotten launched QuadrigaCX from his laptop in Vancouver. The timing was perfect. Cryptocurrencies were exploding in popularity, and Canadians needed a reliable platform to buy and sell digital assets. Cotten positioned himself as the trustworthy face of this new financial frontier. QuadrigaCX grew rapidly. By 2018, the platform was handling over $2 billion in transactions. Cotten had become wealthy beyond imagination. He married his longtime girlfriend Jennifer Robertson in a lavish ceremony in Scotland. They bought properties across Canada. He acquired a yacht, luxury cars, and even a private plane. To the outside world, Gerald Cotten was living the cryptocurrency dream. But behind the scenes, something sinister was unfolding. Investors started noticing problems in 2018. Withdrawal requests that once took days were now taking weeks, then months. Customer service responses became vague, evasive. People who had invested their life savings were watching their money disappear into a digital void, unable to access funds that legally belonged to them. The complaints grew louder. On Reddit forums and social media, angry users shared their stories. Some had been waiting 6 months for withdrawals. Others reported that their accounts had been frozen without explanation. The community began to suspect something was deeply wrong with QuadrigaCX. What they didn't know was that Gerald Cotten had been running QuadrigaCX like a personal piggy bank. He was using new investors' money to pay off earlier investors, a classic Ponzi scheme wrapped in the futuristic packaging of cryptocurrency. The exchange that claimed to hold $250 million in customer funds was actually a hollow shell, and Cotten knew the walls were closing in. In late November 2018, Gerald Cotten and his wife Jennifer traveled to India. The stated purpose? Opening an orphanage. Cotten, apparently moved by humanitarian impulses, wanted to give back to underprivileged children in Jaipur, a city he had supposedly fallen in love with during previous visits. But this story never sat right with investigators. Why would a 30-year-old CEO facing mounting pressure from investors and regulators suddenly fly to India to open an orphanage? Why would he travel to a region known for medical tourism and accessible death certificates? On December 9, 2018, just 12 days after arriving in India, Gerald Cotten was dead. The official story was shocking in its suddenness. According to reports, Cotten had been suffering from Crohn's disease, a serious but manageable condition. While in India, his condition allegedly worsened dramatically. He died from complications related to Crohn's disease, including cardiac arrest, at a private hospital in Jaipur. His body was embalmed immediately, then cremated. Then his ashes were returned to Canada. All of this happened with remarkable speed before family members could arrive, before anyone could verify what had actually occurred. The man who held the keys to $250 million in customer funds was gone, and with him, any hope of recovering the money. The nightmare for QuadrigaCX investors was just beginning. Jennifer Robertson, suddenly widowed and thrust into the spotlight, filed for creditor protection. She claimed that Gerald had been the only person with access to the exchange's cold wallets, offline storage systems, where the vast majority of customer funds were supposedly kept. These wallets were protected by passwords and encryption keys that only Gerald knew. And he had taken those secrets to his grave. Jennifer insisted she had searched everywhere. Gerald's laptop, his phones, his papers, but found nothing. No passwords, no recovery keys, no way to access the $250 million in cryptocurrency that belonged to thousands of devastated investors. The bankruptcy proceedings revealed a financial horror show. Ernst & Young, the firm handling the case, discovered that QuadrigaCX had virtually no money. The cold wallets that supposedly held customer funds? Empty. They had been drained months, possibly years, before Cotten's death. Where had all the money gone? As investigators dug deeper, the portrait of Gerald Cotten transformed from tragic victim to calculated criminal. They discovered he had been trading customer funds on other exchanges under fake accounts. One account with the username Scepter had lost millions in reckless trades. Cotten had been gambling with other people's money, trying to cover losses with increasingly desperate schemes. They found that Cotten had purchased millions of dollars in real estate and assets all around the time customer withdrawals were being delayed, while investors were being told technical difficulties prevented access to their funds. Cotten was living like a king. Most damning of all, forensic analysis revealed that the cold wallets Jennifer claimed were locked had actually been emptied in April 2018, 8 months before Gerald's supposed death. The money had been systematically moved, converted, and hidden long before that mysterious trip to India. When news of the missing funds broke, skeptical investors refused to believe Gerald Cotten was actually dead. The circumstances were too convenient, too perfectly timed, too suspicious. Consider these troubling facts. No independent verification of the death exists. The death certificate came from India, a country where fraudulent documents can be obtained relatively easily. No Canadian officials were present. No family members saw the body before cremation. The embalming happened with unusual speed. Indian hospitals don't typically embalm bodies immediately, especially for foreign nationals whose families might want to transport the remains home. Yet Cotten's body was embalmed within hours of his alleged death. The cremation followed just as quickly. Within days, any physical evidence of Gerald Cotten's existence was reduced to ashes. No autopsy was performed in Canada. No independent medical examiner verified the cause of death. Cotten had a history of using fake identities online. Investigators discovered he had been involved in previous suspicious financial schemes under aliases. Was Gerald Cotten itself just another identity he was ready to abandon? The timing was too perfect. Just as regulatory investigations intensified, just as angry investors were threatening legal action, just as the House of Cards was about to collapse, Gerald Cotten conveniently died in a foreign country with questionable death documentation. A group of investors refusing to accept the official story hired private investigators. They wanted Cotten's body exhumed and examined by independent forensic experts. They believed he had faked his death and was living somewhere under a new identity, enjoying the stolen fortune. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police launched a criminal investigation. The FBI got involved, tracking cryptocurrency movements across international borders. Blockchain analysts traced funds through a maze of transactions, mixers, and exchanges. Some trails led to accounts in Cotten's name. Others disappeared into the dark web. Millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency had simply vanished into the digital ether. Jennifer Robertson maintained her innocence, claiming she was as much a victim as anyone. She cooperated with investigators, surrendered assets, and insisted she had no knowledge of her husband's crimes. Was she truly in the dark, or was she part of the conspiracy? Years after that December day in Jaipur, fundamental questions remain unanswered. Is Gerald Cotten actually dead? No independent forensic examination has confirmed it. The evidence comes entirely from documents produced in India, a country investigators note has a thriving market in fake identities and fraudulent death certificates. If he is alive, where is he? Investigators have speculated he could be anywhere. Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, South America. Anywhere with weak extradition treaties and a high tolerance for cash transactions. Where is the money? Blockchain analysis has traced some funds, but hundreds of millions remain unaccounted for. Did Cotten convert it all to untraceable assets? Is it sitting in wallets he controls, waiting for the heat to die down? What did Jennifer really know? She received a substantial inheritance from Cotten's estate before the extent of the fraud became clear. She purchased properties with him during the period when customer funds were being stolen. Was she truly oblivious? The collapse of QuadrigaCX destroyed lives. Investors lost everything: retirement savings, children's college funds, money borrowed from family members. Some people had invested their entire net worth believing in Cotten's vision of a cryptocurrency future. Lawsuits multiplied. Criminal charges were considered but never filed. It's hard to prosecute a dead man. The Canadian government tightened regulations on cryptocurrency exchanges, but the damage was done. The story became a Netflix documentary, Trust No One: The Hunt for the Crypto King, which explored the bizarre circumstances surrounding Cotten's death and the search for the missing millions. It presented the evidence, the theories, the devastated investors still searching for answers. But documentaries don't return stolen money. They don't resurrect the dead. They don't provide closure to people whose lives were shattered by one man's greed. Today, Gerald Cotten's grave sits in a cemetery in Nova Scotia. Or does it? That grave might contain his remains, or it might be empty. A monument to one of the most audacious frauds in financial history. Some investors still search for him. They scan beaches in tropical countries, looking for a familiar face. They monitor cryptocurrency transactions, hoping to spot patterns that match Cotten's trading style. They refuse to believe he's gone because accepting his death means accepting that the money is gone forever. The truth remains buried, whether in that grave in Nova Scotia or somewhere much deeper. Did Gerald Cotten die at 30 from a sudden medical complication? Or did he pull off the perfect escape, fake his own death, and disappear with $250 million? The evidence points both ways. The convenience of the death, the suspicious circumstances, the missing money, all suggest an elaborate fraud. But the absence of any confirmed sighting, any concrete proof of life, any smoking gun evidence, leaves room for doubt. Perhaps that's the most disturbing part of this story. We may never know the truth. Gerald Cotten, dead or alive, achieved something remarkable. He created a mystery that may never be solved, a crime where even the fundamental fact of the criminal's existence remains in question. Somewhere, someone knows what happened in India. Someone knows where the money went. Someone knows if Gerald Cotten is dead or alive, but they're not talking, and $250 million remains missing. The crypt keeps its secrets. Like the story? Subscribe and turn on notifications for more mysteries, scandals, and unbelievable true stories. Thanks for watching.